guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster, and I've actually had a bit of a result this week. A friend of mine, a very good friend of mine in fact, had some local tree surgeons pruning quite a large oak near his house, and very thoughtfully managed to bag a couple of pieces of some of the larger branches. This is one of them, and decided to drop them round to me, thinking I might be able to make some sort of use for them. Now, I've been after something like this for a little while, and what I wanted to make is basically a sort of rustic style workbench, and the idea being is that you take sort of a piece like this, you flatten off the bottom, put some legs in there, and then cut a section sort of in the middle, just about here, flatten it off, and you can basically put your piece of work in there. You can wedge it in with some offcuts of wood, so it's nice and secure, and it's a nice stable platform to work from. Now, it's going to take me a couple of weeks before I get a chance to get out to the woodland near me to get some legs for it. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to flatten this down, and I can keep that on top of the stump here, so that will work as a workbench without legs. I'm going to cut the section out in the middle, and I'll move on to that a little bit later, and hopefully by the end of it I should have a fairly decent workbench. So what I'll do, I'm just going to move the camera back a little bit just so you can kind of get the whole thing in shot, and what I'll do, we'll start stripping this bark back with the draw knife, which hopefully you've seen before in a couple of other videos. I may need to get the axe out just to flatten this down a little bit as well, and we'll go from there. Right then guys, so hopefully you can see me well enough from here. And all I'm going to do, as I say, this is the draw knife that I rehandled in one of my first videos on this channel. I've not made much use of this since I rehandled it, so this will be a little bit of a test to see how well it works. And all you want to do, choose the spot that you want to be the base of the workbench, and basically just start taking off the bark down to the main wood, and then we'll see whether it can be done with a draw knife or whether I need to take out the axe. I don't know if you guys can see this particularly well on the camera here, but these are the shavings that are coming off from the oak. Now this is still very, very fresh, very green, and to be honest, it's an absolute joy to carve. Fresh oak is very, very good, very, very soft, and what we'll find is that as this ages and as it seasons, it will get harder and harder. Potentially it will split, and that's always the risk you take with working with green wood. But I'm kind of fairly hopeful that even if it does split, it won't be sort of a catastrophic failure. It'll just be some little cracks here and there. Right then guys, so we're down to the inner wood. We've got through the outer bark and the sort of the pithy inner bark. Let me just bring the camera a little bit closer just so you can get a better idea of what this looks like. So this is our beam, or our log should I say, and what you've got, this is the inner wood. This here, you can just about see this kind of slightly lighter stuff here is the sort of the pithy inner bark, and obviously the outer bark you've seen. And what I'll do, I'm going to set the camera back up now. I'm going to get the axe out. I could do this with a draw knife, but to be honest, I'm going to get the axe out and just hew this down so that it's got a little bit of a flat edge on it, and then that'll allow me to stand it upright on my cutting block, and then we can put the section in for holding the material. Okay, so I'm now going to move over to my axe, and this is obviously our cleaned off section, and all I'm going to do with the axe is just very gently and gradually come down here just to make a slightly squared off section. Doesn't need to be too pronounced, just needs to have a flat edge on it so that when I'm putting it on the flat surface of this chopping block, it will basically sit there nice and square and won't move around and wobble about too much like it would with the rounded curve on here. What you guys may find if you're trying to do this is, especially if you don't have a long handled axe, and especially a hewing axe which comes off at a slight angle, so where you've got the head here, obviously this is parallel to your handle. If you imagine the head is staying still here, hewing axe actually comes out and the handle slightly like this, so that you've got plenty of clearance for your hand when you're cutting down the log. Now obviously I don't have one of those, this is about the closest I have. So what I'm going to do, just to protect my fingers slightly, is just stick a glove on, and that will just prevent it rubbing up against the side of the wood and sort of tearing into my hand. Right, what I'm going to do, now that I'm about halfway across, and this will need tidying up a little bit afterwards, I'm going to flip this log round just so it's a bit easier for me to reach the far end, and I'm going to have to turn it this way to do that, so you guys won't be able to see that particularly well. So I'll finish this off and then we'll come back and we'll move on to the next step. Right guys, so we've now got a flattened off area on the bottom of the log. It's not completely square, I'll be honest with you, but it is enough for my purposes at the moment. So as you can see, there's still a tiny little bit of roll on that. You know, and what I can do until I get the legs on, I can basically just stick a chock under there either side, and that'll keep that nice and supported. So moving on, what I now want to do is cut a section out of here, probably about halfway down, and then cut that out so that you've basically got an indentation which will hold your piece of work. Now, predominantly I'll use this for making things like bowls. This is a bowl blank that I had lying around, and the idea is the blank will go inside the indentation. You'll get some wood, some offcuts to pack it in either side. Now I need to work out roughly how big I want this, and to be honest, I mean that's kind of perfect. If I look at that side, because I may want to put the bowl this way around as well, so this kind of width, just a little bit bigger, is probably going to be ideal. If I take just another section of wood, slightly larger, just in case I want to make something bigger than this. So what I think I might do is I'll come a little bit, probably a couple of inches either side of this, and all I'm going to do is take my saw, and again this saw will be fine because this is still green wood. You know, if this is seasoned I would need a proper timber saw, and all I'm going to do is cut down to about halfway down, maybe a little bit less, so I've got some room to tidy up, and go from there. Right guys, this is going to take a little while. Obviously it's quite a large piece of wood, and also being green, it's still quite wet inside. What I'll do, I'll skip over and I'll come back once I've got both those holes or both these cuts sawn. But one thing to say just before I go, if you are cutting with green wood, especially something like oak like this, if you can see there, you've got a lot of sort of very wet sawdust caught up in the teeth of the saw. And what you want to make sure you do is that you regularly take this sawdust out, because what it will do, it will sort of restrict the cutting ability of the saw in a way. And what you don't want to do is just carry on just trying to plough through with the saw teeth all caught up and sort of gummed up with sawdust. On dry wood, not so much of a problem, it just kind of drops straight out, but on green wood like this, it will gum up your saw and take longer to cut through. But as I say, I'll skip forward a little bit guys until both these are done, and we'll come back and take a look at the next step.